So to follow on from the end of year stuff that's been on the channel recently, I thought I would come on and predict my stars of 2026. Now I know that there's some like obvious choices for this, like CM Punk, Seth Rollins, Will Ospreay, Okada, all those kind of MJF, another one, all those guys that kind of already stars. Like I don't feel like they would kind of fit this quite well. They're very obvious choices. What I'm going to do in this video is pick out people that are either quite lower down the card, maybe some people in WWE-wise that are in NXT, as well as like mid-carders, and then like the idea of bringing them up to the kind of upper mid-card to the main event also, and kind of going through why I think they will be good for the main event, and maybe one or two accomplishments I'd like to see them like gain within 2026 that would help them become, stars of the year, whether that be Wrestler of the Year, get some of the matches of the year, get into Breakout Star of the Year for next year, and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, let's get into the list and go through why these people should be higher up in the card and stars of 2026. So first off, I'm going very predictable, very straightforward when it comes to this, and in WWE it's going to be LA Knight. You got to believe that at some point that company has to invest in the megastar. He doesn't get given the nickname of the megastar without feeling like he's eventually going to become one. And though he's had very questionable booking, maybe some people have suggested that it's due to punishment, due to some sign stuff he did when it comes to Jey Uso, and maybe it's just the fact that there just wasn't space for him in the main event scene this year. But 2026 feels like a really good time. It feels like the aging roster might be backing out a little bit, which then gives, I know that LA Knight isn't the youngest guy in the world, but it gives him a bit of a chance to elevate up to the main event scene. I know last year he had one or two. I know he definitely had the Fatal 4-Way match for the World Heavyweight Championship. What I want to see is not necessarily saying that he will definitely win the World Championship, because I don't think that, but I feel like with him just constantly being in the main event scene, having top feuds on Raw or SmackDown or both, and yeah, like maybe winning the Intercontinental Championship, something like that would be really cool. Maybe turning heel, and kind of that'll give him the elevation that he needs to get to that main event scene, though there's a lot of heels in the kind of world title scenes right now. But yeah, for me, it's a very predictable, something that everybody I feel like wants at this point, and that is LA Knight to be a constant and consistent main eventer. And yeah, I said he doesn't necessarily need to win a world championship, but just to be within the area of the World Championship, I think would help him massively. Sticking with WWE, and this is more like a wanting someone to just wrestle more, and the thing is that what you're going to hear me say a lot is that, and my brother kind of came up, like, he didn't come up with the theory, that's a bit weird, but he came up with the idea of like some people will get over by just wrestling all the time, and this was proven with Ilya Dragunov. Obviously he won the United States Championship and continued the Open Challenge, and yeah, his matches were absolutely fantastic every week and became a real highlight of SmackDown through the last few months of the year. And yeah, I just want this to continue. I want Ilya Dragunov to wrestle consistently on Raw or SmackDown, which will eventually get him over more and eventually see him go towards maybe another United States Championship, maybe the Intercontinental Championship, or maybe even gets him up to the main event scene on SmackDown, where he can challenge for the WWE Championships a couple of times. I don't expect him to win the WWE Championship. I don't think he's quite there yet, but to get him on the path to that would be really good within this year. Have him have some of the best matches of the year, I feel like isn't impossible, as Ilya Dragunov has never met a match that wasn't good. So yeah, for me, very simple one for this one. Just have Ilya wrestle all the time, and he will eventually get over, a bit like Carmelo Hayes did, but we'll get to him. And yeah, just watch him rise up the ranks to get to the upper mid card to the main event scene just by wrestling very, very well, very consistently. So going on to the AEW side of things, someone that kind of feels like they kind of fell off the radar a bit. There was a lot of concentration on the Death Riders, but more specifically Jon Moxley this year. But Moxley did put over somebody very late in the year in Claudio Castagnoli, and I feel like if anything, if the Death Riders possibly turn on Jon Moxley, which I can very much see coming, I feel like Claudio Castagnoli is the next natural leader of the Death Riders, which would then elevate him again up to the main event scene. And yeah, it's just something that both WWE and AEW have failed to do, which is put put Claudio in a position where he can kind of dominate a upper mid card and a main event scene, and yeah, just become that kind of the guy within a company. And I feel like he's more than capable now. He has the aesthetic for it, he has the theme also to go ahead with it, and yeah, I feel like right now is a great time to start pushing Claudio Castagnoli and have him maybe in a, I don't want to say a shock, but like maybe make him world champion near the end of the year, have him just absolutely dominate some of the best talents in AEW, and yeah, that'll just elevate him quite easily. People have been waiting for Claudio to become a main event star, so there'll be no, I mean, I can't imagine there'll be any backlash to putting him in a main event position. And yeah, I know he's currently CMML world champion, so they've got a good idea. He's been Ring of Honor world champion as well, so it's not just getting him to be a world champion in the two, or in one of the two major companies, which obviously will be AEW, and I feel like he will make a great AEW world champion. So yeah, that's kind of what I can see happening, is him taking over the leadership of the Death Riders, and then that leading to him becoming world champion at some point. Next, I have someone who I've already referred to, which is what I'm doing quite early in, and that is Carmelo Hayes. And yeah, he's just won the United States Championship from Ilya Dragunov on Boxing Day. And yeah, for me, it's just have him keep that title for as long as possible, really. Have him like go on probably one of the longest reigns in the championship history. Have him carry on the Open Challenge. I mean, that's what they said he was going to do on SmackDown. But also within the Open Challenges, have feuds for the championship as well. Have him on pay-per-view. You know, make him a real undeniable star. Like, because he's already getting over. He got over in like the best way, which is very naturally. He got over as the babyface, just wrestling all the time, bit similar to Ilya Dragunov. And yeah, I think with Carmelo Hayes, you've got a ready-made star. He knows how to carry himself as a major champion like he did in NXT. So he's got everything that you could possibly need to be a world champion. It's just a case of doing everything right to then build him up to get to that position, and then maybe 2027 or 2028 could be the year that he does win a world championship. But for this year, I just want him to have good, consistent matches and stay United States champion, maybe even become the longest reigning United States champion, so then he has that kind of accolade within his ranks as well. Staying with WWE, and their women's division is absolutely stacked at the minute on their main roster, and they've got many stars that they can make world champions all over the place. You know, your Rhea Ripley's, your Bianca Belairs, Liv Morgan, Jade Cargill, of course, Tiffany Stratton, Charlotte Flair, but someone who I feel like has gone under the radar a little bit going into the latter parts of the year is Lyra Valkyria. Now, I feel like she is someone who is arguably one of the best in-ring wrestlers that WWE have right now, but there's kind of so many people in the main event scene that honestly, just put the Intercontinental Championship back on Lyra and have her have an even longer reign with the championship, and just have it again wrestle consistently, because she is so good in the ring that they're really missing out by not having her wrestle consistently. I get that they want to put her in the tag division with Bayley, and that story makes a lot of sense, but for me, you don't even need to like turn with those two. They could just go quite easily their separate ways. Maybe just use a draft to separate them a little bit, and then yeah, have her stay on Raw, have her become the Intercontinental Champion, and then yeah, just have her wrestle consistently, because she is such a great talent, and someone has said, I feel like it's gone very unappreciated into the latter parts of the year since she lost the Intercontinental Championship, and then having her not been able to challenge Becky, I feel like was quite a mistake in hindsight. But yeah, Lyra Valkyria is one day going to become a absolutely fantastic, probably one of the best women's wrestlers in the world, with just a case of putting her on the right path to get her to that point. So to go down to NXT, and for me there's one standout guy in the men's division, and that is Javon Evans, which I don't think has come a shock to anybody. For me, it's not even a case of calling him up. I feel like he should stay down in NXT, but have him have a very long and consistent reign with the NXT Championship, similar to what Oba had this in 2025, but have Javon and like Oba kind of faced like tag team guys for a while, and it didn't really feel like a major championship reign. With Javon, have him face like the biggest talents, your Ricky Saints, your Ethan Pages, having faced maybe Jasper Troy, there's all kinds of, I can't think off the top of my head of a load of people, but having just face a load of people many times, have him have the rematch with Leon Slater, which I feel those two just create magic whenever they're in the ring together. But yeah, for me, if you put the NXT Championship on Javon Evans, have him go on a consistent run, they could just make an absolute star of him like they did with the likes of Bron Breakker when he had his really long reign. Carmelo Hayes as well when he had a long-ish reign with the NXT Championship. Finn Balor, of course, he had a long reign with the NXT Championship, came up to the main roster and got a Universal title match. So kind of follow that blueprint, but with Javon Evans. And, I feel like he could become one of the biggest stars in WWE period, similar to a kind of 2008 Jeff Hardy kind of hype behind him. And yeah, they 100% could make him a star in 2026. Sticking with NXT and more into the women's division now, and Blake Monroe, I feel like, is a made star already. She has everything you could possibly need to be a star. It was very unfortunate with what happened with the North American Championship with Thea Hale, but I feel like she's going to win that back fairly quickly, probably at New Year's Evil. But for me, again, like, I would argue maybe have her lose that match, have Thea keep the championship, but then have Blake Monroe become NXT Women's Champion instead. She can go on a fair bit of run, maybe keep it till Heatwave, and then have her come up to the main roster and just dominate through the main roster with absolutely fantastic matches. Maybe have her even challenge, or even as a bit of a shock, win the WWE Women's Championship. I feel like that is something that they could definitely do. They could very much fast track Blake into a Women's Championship feud and have her win the title. And I don't feel like it would be massively, like, it wouldn't get a load of backlash, is what I'm trying to say, because she, as I said, is a star anyway. She was the Women's World Champion in AEW, so we know that she can be a main event star. And it was very surprising that she actually went to NXT. I thought she was going to go straight to the main roster personally, but I do like what she's doing in NXT as well, don't get me wrong. But yeah, for me, Blake Monroe, I feel like, is, again, a very easy pick, but she could become a star in NXT further and then become a main roster star as well within the whole year, because she's just that good, that entertaining, and just, yeah, there's so much good about Blake Monroe. I feel like it would be criminal that she doesn't become a star in 2026. After a breakout year in AEW, having the World Tag Team Championships and becoming Ring of Honor World Champion, I feel like Bandito, I feel like he is in a great position to become a star in 2026. He gets to face MJF, I feel like, in just over a week, I believe, or just under a week. I feel like that match is going to be a potential for match of the year that early, because those two can absolutely go in the ring and it'll be a fantastic match. And MJF can gel really well with luchadors as well, as we saw with his feud with Mystico in 2025. But Bandito as a whole, his whole presentation is really good. The whole Lucha Cowboy is something they can definitely get over, and it's already over technically. And I feel like, yeah, something that people would enjoy more in AEW. I feel like once he's dropped the Ring of Honor World Championship, it won't hurt him too much. I feel like this is the year where he does drop the championship, but that's because they want to have him do more in AEW. And I'm not saying that he's going to win the World Championship, but maybe go on a good run with the International Championship or the Continental Championship would fit him really well. Also, the thought of Bandito versus Moxley is very enticing to me. But yeah, just have him, again, similar to people in WWE, have him wrestle all the time and he will get over and he will progress up the card even further. I feel like, as I said, he had a huge breakout year in 2025. If they capitalise on his momentum, he can become an even bigger star in the main part of AEW in 2026. So going back to WWE, and this is a very predictable one, from NXT to main roster as well, Obafemi. I feel like he's been hyped up very well since Saturday night's main event. They've been doing vignettes for him on Raw and SmackDown, and whichever brand he goes to, I assume it'll probably be SmackDown due to the longer show that they're going to be running. But yeah, this guy's set up perfectly for success. Longest reigning North American champion, 2-time NXT champion, just banger matches all the time. The two big ones being the triple threat at Stand and Deliver 2023 against Briggs and Dijak, and the triple threat at Stand and Deliver last year against Trick and Javon. Yeah, there's a guy who is great in triple threat situations, which is absolutely fantastic. I can't see him coming up to the main roster and going straight into the main event scene. I know a lot of people really want him to do that, but I feel like a good run with the Intercontinental Championship, have him maybe beat Dom or have him beat the guy who beats Dom. I mean, have him just go on an absolute tear through the mid-card division, similar to what Gunther was doing when he was Intercontinental Champion, but a bit more entertaining because Oba is a aura magnet. And yeah, for me, give him just a really long reign with a mid-card championship and he is going to be a made star. So then in 2027, 2028, he can become a world champion and become just a consistent main eventer on the main roster, because I feel like it would be absolutely ridiculous and criminal if he doesn't become one of the main guys in WWE in the next 10, 15 years. And sticking with the idea of NXT to main roster, I'm going to go with Sol Ruka. Now, I know a lot of people might want her to stay in NXT for a while. She doesn't need to come up to the main roster. For me, I kind of disagree. I feel like her talents on the main roster will be massively appreciated, and it will help out a already fantastic women's division, and I feel like having her maybe on Raw, having the matches with the likes of Io Sky, Rhea Ripley, Bayley, Lara Valkyria is going to set her up perfectly to be a success. Maybe give her the Women's Intercontinental Championship, maybe even have fast track her to the Women's World Championship. I wouldn't hate the idea. I know it might be a little bit quick for some people. Honestly, I don't hate the idea, as I've said. But yeah, for me, with a bit like Lara Valkyria, Sol Rucker, let her wrestle. She's so good. Again, similar to Oba, the next 10, 15, maybe even 20 years of Sol Rucker in WWE, she'll become one of the best women's wrestlers in the world. I can almost guarantee it. So yeah, for me, have Sol come up to the main roster, have her wrestle all the time, have her win a mid-card belt, maybe even into the latter parts of the year, have her win a world championship, similar to the run that Stephanie Vaquer had, and she'll be a made star for essentially probably the rest of her career in WWE. So sticking with AEW for kind of the rest of the video now, I've talked a lot about WWE guys, but first I have Trevor, good old Ricochet, and yeah, he had a fantastic 2025. He really came into his element a lot. The heel turn that he did really helped him out massively, and yeah, I don't think there's any denying that he is kind of hit a prime of his career. I feel like him as national champion was really good. I look forward to seeing where that goes as far as where he wrestles and all that kind of stuff. But for me, it also goes leading into him maybe going towards the World Championship at some point. I can't imagine he's going to win it. I don't really see him as a World Champion quite yet, but maybe losing the National Championship, maybe becoming the TNT or International Champion, I feel like would massively help him up the card as well. And just again, having him wrestle consistently will be really good. He's got a good team behind him in the Gates of Agony, forming the Demand. And yeah, I feel like there's a lot of investment to go into Ricochet. I feel like he could become the main guy in AEW at some point in the future. And yeah, I feel like just like everything he's doing just works so well for a main event guy, a top heel within the company. And yeah, I can't see him not becoming a star in 2026. So going into AEW's women's division, which is something I haven't really talked about much in this video, I have Megan Bayne, because she has the aesthetic of a champion and of a main event person, a top heel who can be almost like a final boss kind of opponent for someone to win the World Championship. And yeah, ever since her match with Toni Storm, I've been fully invested in Megan Bayne to become a women's champion. And unfortunately, that hasn't been the case. She didn't even win the tag team tournament, which I was a bit disappointed with, but I kind of get why they went the way they did. But yeah, for her to become either TBS champion and go on a run, not quite like Mercedes Moné, but on a much as dominant run as she did, or maybe win the Women's World Championship and go on an absolute tear with that, I feel like would massively help her. But I feel like at some point they're going to have to put a major championship on her for the women's division, and once they do, I feel like it's going to be incredibly tough to get the championship off her. I feel like she's she's kind of like Jade Cargill when she first came in, as far as the dominance and stature, and you add in like the Toni Storm type, or the like a Britt Baker. I know it's not quite the same with Britt Baker in AEW right now, but the Britt type, as far as like she's good in ring as well. You know, you mesh them together and you've got a certified main event, a certified world champion. I feel like in 2026, if they don't put a championship on Megan Bayne, it would be a massive loss for AEW. And finally, I have a very predictable pick again for AEW to kind of bookend each side. Predictable one for WWE to start with, predictable one for AEW. It's Kyle Fletcher. I feel like he has made himself a star within 2025, but honestly, only winning the TNT Championship, I think it was a bit of a letdown in a way. It was great that he had the championship. He elevated the championship a lot while he had it. But yeah, for now, I would like... Well, going into this year, I would like him to become world champion. I'm not going to lie to you, I feel like he would make a great world champion. We saw at All Out that he can hold himself within a main event caliber match, and I feel like he can hold himself promo-wise in a main event scene. So forget mid-card titles, I want him going straight into the top, and maybe even going after MJF as soon as possible. I feel like he would fit that so well, especially now we've got like Okada is still international champion. Takeshita is IWGP world champion at the moment. Time of recording, he's IWGP world champion, but Wrestle Kingdom is tonight/tomorrow morning. But yeah, for me, Kyle Fletcher could usurp both those guys into the World Championship scene and just absolutely be a fantastic addition into that scene and kind of stay there and be the main guy in the Don Callis family. As much as people see Okada as the main guy right now, he could definitely go higher than him. And yeah, I would love to see Kyle Fletcher become World Champion in 2026 and maybe even feud with Will Ospreay for the World Championship, reuniting that rivalry again, and then just having absolute classics over the World Championship. I feel like would be awesome. So those are my predictions for stars of 2026. Do put down in the comments below who you think is going to become a star in 2026. Is there any picks of mine that you disagree with, or do you agree with them, and why do you agree? And yeah, we can have a good discussion about it down in the comments. Do like the video if you enjoyed it. And yeah, there's a lot of good content coming up on the channel soon. I've got entrants for the men and women's Royal Rumbles for WWE. I have men and women's entrants for Royal Rumble for AEW if they were to do that later on in the month. And I also have around when Genesis is, I have a top 10, or not top 10, it's more like a 10 matches I'd like to see AJ Styles have before he retires this year. But yeah, as well as a lot of other stuff coming up on the channel, so do stick around, do subscribe. I feel like this is going to be a really good year as far as content goes, so yeah, do stick around. I hope you all enjoyed the end of year awards as well. Hopefully I didn't go too controversial in some of my picks, but yeah, do subscribe, do stick around for a lot of wrestling content to come. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.